Well, welcome everybody. I'd like to call to order the July 9th, 2025 EAC monthly meeting. I know that John sent out a copy of the minutes to everybody. Everybody received those minutes? Any changes, edits, objections to those minutes? Okay, can we have a motion to approve them?
I'll move.
A second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, minutes are good. Public comment, seeing that we have none, we'll move on to project updates. Sustainability. I have good news there. We are having our first call with Penn State tomorrow. We are one of, I think, 5 communities or something, I believe. Let me just go and take 2 seconds and tell you who we're joining in with, if I can bring that up. And we are having a 1 o'clock call here, John, Melissa, myself, if we have some other people that will join us from the township, but I don't really have it. I don't really have it. Like I said, I have to break down these emails, but I think it's Erie.
Yeah, Erie, Harrisburg. There was, I think, 1 or 2 others.
Yeah, so they are going to work on the last open item of the community-wide greenhouse gas inventory. And they are going to also deliver us a local action sustainability action plan. So it's just, we're going to get an extra bonus with that. And I know that we have 3 calls scheduled and the first one is tomorrow. So that is the update on that. Any questions on sustainability? Okay. Dear management, I guess the first thing I'll ask is, I'm not sure if there's anything new, but Ken can certainly jump in here. But John, you put out your message, you put out your message in the last mail.
Yeah, part 1.
Yeah, are there any other messages to be that we're trying to craft?
Right now, so that first message is the first 3. There's going to be a longer article. Is basically all 3 combined. That's coming out in the Town Crier, which should be coming out by the end of the month, hopefully.
Okay.
Optimistically. But there's going to be 2 more parts in McMail. The second part is mostly going to be focused on Ken, actually, with some of his expertise in, remembering things with this plan.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third part is basically going to be saying, like, car crashes are a problem, ticks, and here's sort of what we're thinking right now. Like, you're going to have your statement in there that you read to town council,
Mhm.
a couple quotes, and Nick is going to have a quick quote at the end as well. So I've seen a little social media feedback, which is mostly positive-ish, I'd say.
Mhm.
No one's pushed back, which is a real fear, obviously, that can happen.
Yeah. And Ken, thanks for all your, the great input on that and the comments and the quotes and everything and your experience and expertise. So that looked really good.
In talking with Janine, I forwarded what you had produced there. And just in her opinion, she goes, she doesn't think we're going to have any difficulty with public opinion.
Okay, good. Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, people don't want to some people, they know it's necessary, but they don't really, like my wife, but doesn't really want to, don't tell me about it. But I clearly see the need for it, that type of thing. So, I think there's a lot of people in that category, but.
I'll also say, I used to be in that category, but through the education that you get as you learn about the benefit it has on the environment and the region itself, you'll be able to change the minds of those people easily enough.
Yeah.
Because the people who are opposed to it truly care about the deer and don't realize the impact.
Well, when we do the hike through the parks, between the 2 of us, we'll point out the lack of
Yep.
Everything.
Well, I now have 3 ponds in the pond, taking a drink every day, so I went from 1
Yeah.
to 3, so we're just hanging out, living in my backyard. And then mom pushes up and hangs out with them, Barry's mom, so I kind of want to follow up on this notion of deer fencing, because it's something I'm planning on doing. But I think that question of, right now.
right on the edge of Potter Park. If you go up the hill to the one private residence up there, at one time they had deer fence up, 8 foot, and it's all in disrepair now. So they, for one reason or another, decided not to keep it in place.
So two things about that.
But I
So
think for residents to be able to.
I put up deer fence.
Yeah,
And I mean, we didn't have enough time to talk about it the last meeting. I know we're going off it, but I tried to stay true to the agenda, but I think we have some time. We did a deer fence and we had a fencing company and they were the only ones that would do it. And it's 6 feet high. And I mean, we sit and look at deer because I bought the park. So we see deer all the time.
Mhm.
They never approach that fence. They don't attempt to jump over 6 feet. They don't, it's a good, I mean, I can give you the name of that and it works and it's been effective for us.
Yeah, I mean, you know, at this point, I mean, I've hired a company, I Can Log, who's gonna do a whole design for
Oh, that's.
all three
yeah,
lots,
yeah.
and it's a master plan. And I said, you know, I need to lock in so that, you know, I can keep the deer out, because I'm like hell bent on, I'm gonna do that, like,
Mhm.
so they said, oh, you need deer fence, I'd never heard the term, so we talked about it, and they said, when you abutted this, you know, the last time saying, well, no. But because it's a steep slope behind the house, if we put it up, they're saying they're just gonna barely get in anyway, and you said that's not true with yours, so. I mean, I can try the 6 foot, but I really just want to. You know, try to keep them out. They literally live in my yard, like, and I don't have the use of my yard. They're in
Mhm.
my yard, you know, occupying it up to 10 to 12 of them.
Sure. Well, I think one of the things that hit home for me is whenever Ken and I were having breakfast or another time that we were talking, he said deer used to be so uncommon that you'd actually come out to North Park and see them in like a fenced area, like you do in
Mhm.
South Park with the buffalo. But now, you know, I'll take a walk in the park and on the trails and I'll see 15, 20 easily. John, and that's right there.
The dog park up by the tennis
Right.
courts, that was the deer pen.
Hmm.
Up until like 10 years ago,
Yeah, that's
10,
great.
15 years ago.
So the other thing too is, we walk on Irwin Road all the time. And, so I smelled, you know, like, remember the year that I said, oh, somebody's dumping these deer? And we smelled it so bad, but there was no evidence of that. And so that was probably a natural, you know, expiration of animals or deer or whatever down in the woods. So, you know, whatever's happening, you know, they're dying off there on their own or whatever that it is. So,
Well, when we're picking up, you know, 3 times as many deer on our township roads, that's not including, a lot of those deer get hit and they make it 50 yards back into the woods and that's where
Okay.
they die.
okay,
I mean,
That makes sense.
up at my cabin, every year out in, you know, where there's some logs or someplace where they can hide,
yeah,
there'll be a dead deer there.
okay,
You know, they get hit on the road and they make it off the road. And so there's probably more deer that do that than we actually picked up.
yeah, yep. Okay, let me ask one more question, then I'll turn it over to you, Ken, if you want to say anything else about it. But, John, do we need to still craft a positive, a safety message, a part of your next 2 messages? Do we still need to craft something that is safety oriented? Because if we do, I think we ought to account for the fact that you're not getting anything from Mark, and we need to figure out how we can get you that assistance.
At this point, I don't think we need to,
Okay.
up until something changes in the program,
Mhm.
may require that, but right now, we probably don't need anything additional.
Okay. Okay, good.
And the backup statement is always, everything is done by Pennsylvania game law.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay, anything else on that, Ken?
The only thing, you know, but jumping ahead is Janine's going to speak for us on September 30th. I probably need to get her in touch with John so that she knows what all the AV stuff is available for her.
Yeah, and, so, well, we'll talk about that in a second. Talk about that in a second. We'll come back to that. Okay. Anything else on deer management program?
So I raised the issue of the fence because while we're rolling out, maybe you could talk about things like what our current laws allow for protection. So it is a 6-foot fence. You know, everybody believes that's sufficient for keeping deer out, you know, yeah, right. That's what I mean, Ken, or if it's not, let's do some action. That's what I'm saying, like,
I watched them go. There's a 4-foot fence right here. They're right here. I watched them go over it. Yeah,
So a 6 foot,
6 foot, if they want to get over, they can get over. But chances of that are not, I mean, they're not going to want to do that. We'll put it that way.
but I guess that's what I'm saying is, hopefully when you guys are talking about this, you're gonna include things that residents can do. I mean, I see this as the precursor to, oh, and by the way, we want you all to plant trees, but
Well, I
If
mean,
this
what you're
doesn't-
suggesting is that somebody's gonna do that, but John is the one crafted the last two messages, so it'll be up to him and John Schwend if they want to include ordinance information. So I don't think we have that's not our call, it's your call.
And the reality is what we're trying to get to the point is that you don't have deer living in your backyard.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
I mean, and that's the point you're making about what you can do, but I think part of it should be, and the resident can do these things, certainly like not feed, you could put fencing
That could
on.
be a fourth article, maybe.
Okay,
Yeah, for the fall.
yeah. I mean, you got all the fawns. I mean, the challenge I always have is once those fawns are born in my yard, they're just, for their lifetime, they're like, this is my yard.
Well,
So,
the does, the boys will move. That
Yeah, right.
they,
yeah, I know, but it's like I call it the deer daycare back there, anyway, but yeah, I can't be the only one who has this issue in Canvas.
come up to my house.
Okay, Joanna, rain garden update.
Yes. So a couple of us went out, so it was me and Jeff and Ken and my husband, and Beth Dutton joined us for the hackathon on June 21st. We got a good chunk of the rain garden knotweed cut down. There's still plenty of knotweed elsewhere in the park, but within the rain garden that is cut down for spraying in a few weeks, usually 6 to 8 weeks after the cutting. I did get some pushback from Beth Dutton when she did find out that we are spraying, and that I knew that was going to be coming. I know that it is a controversial thing. And then just for my own peace of mind, I then went to an event the next day with Wild Ones, which they do native plants and spoke to somebody who is like a Japanese knotweed specialist there. And he was like, yeah, you can't do anything else but spray it. It is the first thing to come back after a volcano. It will survive everything. So there is, you can be conservative with the use of the spray. I wouldn't go wild with it. And I think that's the main thing, is to make sure whoever is applying it does it correctly, but also I want to make sure that procedures are followed correctly. So I'm in touch with Brad through Public Works, because it's one of those things where I want them to learn a bit about how to do it. And hopefully, since I know that there's Japanese knotweed in the other parks, make sure that we can start looking towards what will that look like to start reducing the knotweed in other locations as well. That's where that is. And so part of that will have to be public education and that kind of thing too. Which that just comes with all of this.
Okay, would we ever sort of, like you just said, like expand this, like, okay, this is the canary in a coal mine. If it works here, then, then it would work in some of the other public parks, like you said.
Right.
And could we ever say, well, you have Japanese knotweed on your property, this is how you get rid of it? I mean, is that, do we advertise that, or do we sort of say, is this another one where we don't really say much about it?
When we've had discussions about this before, the township can mow it on the right of way and spray it. But that patch probably extends onto private property, and that is up to that landowner what they do.
I guess what I'm asking is, would we ever do like a McMill tip that said, hey, have Japanese knotweed? This is what we found to be, you cut it down here and then you spray the hell out of it with this other stuff, something like that. I mean, do you?
It's, it's what all the conservancies do on all their island land and everything. This is the accepted treatment for how you do it.
Okay,
And if you look back, so when I had my McMail tip about invasive species, one of the things that I linked to within that was a booklet for identification and then treatment and disposal of different invasive species in there. And it did have Japanese knotweed within that, because that is one of the things, and it's the main thing we're taking care of in the rain garden, but there's so many other invasive species, and some of them you do take care of with herbicides, and some you don't have to. Some you can just
mhm,
rip out, and then that's okay. Like garlic mustard, that's one, if you just go through and you pull it out, that will do the trick.
mhm.
So it depends on what everybody's dealing with. I don't know how much, I feel like a lot of homeowners aren't the ones who are having the problems with it. I feel like it's more in the locations because it likes areas along like,
They don't have roots. They need wet areas.
yeah,
They have
Okay.
rhizoids.
right. So I wonder if it's more like along the creeks. And if you have a backyard that backs up to it, maybe you've taken care of it, but
Okay,
I don't
so,
know.
so it's more public property, it would be more something that would be better for us to understand, the DPW to be educated on.
I think so. I think that's one of them. And I think maybe better for that would be something like Tree of Heaven is one. And then like, as I said, garlic mustard is a big one that a lot of people I see have on their property and they don't realize it.
Stilt grass is taking over
Still
everything.
grass, yeah.
And that chemical I use, if you go through Wall Park, it only affects annual grasses. So
Well, aren't we all going to go through Walk Park or?
you'll see.
Okay, any other questions on rain gardens?
Oh, yeah. And right now it's beautiful. There's a lot of things that are blooming. So
Wonderful.
if you go over there, it's really good right now.
That's a great place to put small. I'm become a big advocate of milkweed because deer don't bother it. And it has nice flowers on it and what's the other one that I have up at my house? It produces the for hypertension. I'm gonna forget the name, but I can't, but there's a few things that I've found that you can plant that even at this point, the deer won't eat because they're toxic for one reason or another. And that's very few things.
That was at my house over the weekend.
All right.
That's cool. Okay, next up is tree program. Bernie, and focus us here.
So John, do you want to give your update on, I mean, so mine was, I was trying to work with the staff on kind of what I needed approvals on.
Yeah.
So John's really been good about, trying to carry that through.
Yep.
Yeah, basically, other John told me, and I told Bernie, that basically funding for that is approved. Any other, donations or sponsorships that come through will be great. And we are set to actually meet to discuss this further on July 22nd. Make sure everything's, yeah,
Did I say that? Okay.
what we're asking, if it's okay.
Okay, yeah, yeah, that could work.
Okay,
Yeah.
8:30 AM works for you, okay, Bernie?
About what time?
that's what was suggested, yeah.
Yeah,
If it's not, we can reschedule, but that was the time slot. They said, let's see if everyone's in for that.
yeah, that could work.
Just as something to throw in too. Wouldn't be that difficult to, grow our own trees, in grad school, two of my roommates, that's what, the one was growing container type trees and then the other, we were planting them on strip mines. Because it was so much quicker and easier to grow them in a greenhouse over the winter and then plant them in the spring outside. So that's something, and that's something that we can get. It has the potential to get involvement of the community as far as people picking the seeds and planting and all that kind of thing.
Well,
That's down the road, but
Yeah.
that's really not that big of a thing to do.
But I have discussed that with Tree Pittsburgh, so they're out of bloom in their nursery.
Yeah, It's
So
not a
I
big
have-
thing for us to do.
Well, what I've suggested is they could, we could find land up this way and have a northern nursery, right? So that, and yes, to your point, I would love to have it involved with what we're doing on, replacing tree canopies, so, do you want to run point on making
can-
that kind of move along?
Can talk with Brad and stuff. It's, for 20 years, I've grown chestnut trees indoor under light and then plant them. So it's,
Because where are you thinking you would plant?
when they're small like that, I mean, that's how you reforest things is with those small trees like that.
I agree, but that's what I'm saying, do you have a site in mind? You just kind of pointed that way. That's
We've
where
got plenty of land right over here.
Oh, okay. We being McCandless.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Oh, that's fabulous.
But I haven't
love
talked to
that.
Brad.
Okay, anyway, but yeah, I mean, that's been on my big list of things we could, ultimately try to achieve, so that's great. So what John was saying, the approval was not just for the funding for the tree tenders, which, so my plan on October 18th would be the tree tenders course and trying to recruit out of not only the speaker series list and all the people who said they'd be interested in attending, but August, September, even October, I'd like to, in our newsletters and social media, start promoting the tree tender, signups. And I know Joey and I said to you about, can I work with you on, by the time we put this out there, is there because the township's underwriting it, do we do it as a underwritten program by the township for, tree tenders who want to engage and are willing to do 10 hours to support our tree initiatives over the next year, do something like that. Or, do we say, if you don't want to do the 10 hours, you give $40-50 for attending. So, I just want to learn. I'm not interested in supporting, what you're all doing. I'm just willing to go put trees in my yard and take care of my trees. So I put that out there because to me, it's about, in principle, how we approach the community. on that.
Did you talk to Liz Spence?
So I'm gonna get to that. But, so because Liz Spence, so tomorrow morning, I always have a standing Thursday meeting. And everybody's always trying to get me that Arboretum meeting on Thursday morning, so I canceled a medical appointment when my client, with the standing meeting every Thursday, moved it to the afternoon. So I'm gonna go tomorrow morning to connect. Hopefully Liz is there tomorrow.
She's there just about every weekend.
I know, that's hopefully it's not, because this will be the only one I'll.
She was thinking you were a man.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when I said, have you talked to Bernie yet? And she goes, he hasn't called me yet.
Well, because she said, show up at this meeting and we'll talk there. And this is like the 10th person who has said, show up at this meeting, including you. So I feel like it must be 50 people sitting around talking about stuff. So anyway, so that's my plan on how to connect, is take a morning
Okay.
off. to
Can I
go-
back up a little bit because
Yeah.
I'm
Well, yeah,
trying to catch the thread here.
Yeah.
So tomorrow, you're meeting with Liz
Yeah.
from Hampton.
Yeah.
And that is to discuss what?
well,
She's been in charge of EAC
Yeah,
and everything over there for many years. This is something she can help tell what programs are available, coordinate things with Hampton, North Park and so forth.
okay,
This is,
okay.
well, because they're
Yeah.
giving up the tree cell. So this is like what we talked about in order to, this tree cell that, was it that?
Northern Area Environmental.
Right, so they're not gonna do it, and I guess Liz is taking it over, and so part of that would be, do we dovetail our activities with theirs? On the tree cell.
Okay,
But the other approval we got was for the tree adoption, and so what I proposed was on the 18th. We,
October 18th?
Yeah.
Not the 15th.
No, I'm sorry, it's the eighteenth. I'm
Okay.
just looking at my notes too, going like, why did I put the 15th?
Yeah, okay, so
It is Saturday, the
15th.
18th. Right, so tree tenders is gonna run from 9 to 3. And my thought, we always talked about doing kind of a tree planting after. Um, but my request to the township through John was, could we also use the Public Works building? The way Tree Pittsburgh does the tree adoption is they would bring us what is it, no less than, I'm trying to think of the volume of trees, what is it, just 40 trees? No, what's the volume of trees? What did I say, if they're $40 and 4,000, so 100 trees, I'm sorry. So we'd have no less than 100 trees to give out. And, you know, so we'd be developing that program for everybody go through the tree tenders. But would start the adoption in the Public Works building. They'd get delivered the night before, we'd keep them there. And we'd set up to, and again, different. To me, those of us who may have already gone through the tree tenders.
Yeah.
Would get out there an hour
Okay, so
early.
can I ask because I think I'm thick here. So you have an October 5th, October 18th tree tenders course.
Right,
We know
and
that,
it's here in Public Works.
right, and we know that there's a cost. Tree tenders is gonna charge us.
Yeah,
And the township is going to underwrite that $5,800.
yeah, I mean, I'm still getting sponsors lined up. So
Okay.
I've talked to Duquesne Lights, I've talked to Lowe's. I've talked to.
Okay, well, let me finish my thought if I can. So you're thinking that anybody who joins that will leave with a tree?
Yeah, ideally, well, only if they sign up for one. So there's gonna be two different programs. Think of them as two completely different
Okay.
things. One is who wants to learn about tree tenders for their own benefit or to support our tree program going
Right.
forward, right? So that's,
And the question is, there's an A and B there. A, either they get it for free, or B, they pay for it. That's it.
yeah.
Okay, so there's A and B, okay.
And then following that, separate event, let's call it, right? Unrelated, but related. You know, McCandless, also is going to support a tree adoption event and allow 100 people or 50 people at 2 trees. But let's say it's 100 people in McCandless to, adopt a tree. So 1 tree, you know, out at Public Works Garage. So you show up from 3 to 6, you pick up your tree, you know, we teach you, you know, the course on.
That's on some date that has not been chosen yet.
That's on the 18th.
That's also on the
So the
18th.
whole 18th would be, we run from 9 to 6, a full day
Mhm.
of all about trees. So you'd be learning about trees and would be handing out trees on behalf of McCandless. And the reason I wanted to get that $4,000 underwritten is I don't want that to be, you know, budget funds. I really want it to be, you know, funds that we develop. And, you know, frankly, so my Duquesne Light from the last meeting to this meeting, you know, I was trying to solidify the adoption.
Mhm.
And so I had told John, like, I couldn't get a meeting with them, so I just obligated to pay the 4,000 on my own, so I gave a personal guarantee just so it could happen, and that's when John said, it's okay, but in the meantime, I was working with Duquesne Light and Lowe's on underwriting it, so it's not a lot of funding, but, so what I said to Duquesne Light, the tree adoption would be the kind of, we'd position it this way, which is, we had a lot of storms, we had a lot of tree loss, and we had a lot of power outages because of trees. So what McCandless is gonna do going forward is hand in hand with Duquesne Light, we will teach you all where to put trees. So the adoption event would really be underwritten by them,
Mhm.
which is let's, as Duquesne Light, let us show you our planting guide of where you should put trees, what trees should go where, and what we are gonna guide you to do. So it would be more Duquesne Light's, you know, program staff assisting us with getting the word out on, you know, where trees should go. So because we want to re-canopy McCandless, but we want to make sure that when trees fall, they're not taking out power lines. And in the meantime, we'll try to convince Duquesne Light to stop taking out all of our trees.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we haven't won that war.
So
but-
where are the decision points? What do we have to decide on? Like, because you don't have enough money to do everything. and you're gonna get sponsorships, which is unknown, so at this point, what do we have to or not in this meeting,
Yeah.
but what should we be thinking about?
Well, that's why I wanted, so I was concerned because I've been trying to get a meeting with McCandless staff to get approval to write state grants. There are state grants, significant funds available for tree plantings and the replacement of tree canopy.
Mhm.
So I know we missed the first two, but that's what I want to be able to do is, I can fill out the forms, but it's McCandless Township who has to be the one who. So ultimately, that's the meeting I still haven't gotten. And, as I said to you, like why I was trying to hurry up and get it done before the deadline, to get them to be.
Is that the meeting on the 21st at 8:30?
Well, now it is, but we
Okay.
missed two grant rounds, so.
Okay,
I mean, they rotate and they, roll,
Right.
but yeah, but I feel like, that's why I had maybe a greater sense of urgency. In
Mhm.
addition to Tree Pittsburgh on the adoption. I had already guaranteed the tree tenders and you had already gotten, I think, approval on the tree tenders underwriting. But on the tree adoption was what I was also trying to get the approval for funding. So
okay,
they said they could take it out of, is it a general fund that they're gonna underwrite? It's a $5,800 commitment that John said today
Mhm.
that they would make. And
Yeah.
and then I guess the follow-up. Now, my intention is to still get Duquesne Light. Duquesne Light, when they take somebody's tree down, they give them $150 to go replace it. So, I mean, part of my hope, and the $40 is the trees we're getting from Tree Pittsburgh. So I hope to do a richer, fuller program with Duquesne Light, where they're getting more engaged in how to get appropriate trees in appropriate locations and, see, about their ability to underwrite this. But Lowe's was excited about it too. And as per Ken, I mean, Ken has suggested that I go visit all the nurseries and, when I have my next 5 minutes, I'll do that. But I happened to be at Lowe's the other night, a week ago, buying, something. And I asked about the manager and I talked to them and they were pretty excited. So they're looking for, because what I said to them is their nursery, ideally, we could potentially even give coupons and work with them on which are the appropriate trees, or we make sure they get the right trees for, the McCandless tree program. So they're all about it, plus all the things people need to plant trees. They're
Mhm.
okay to.
They have part of their budgets for any of these change, whether it's Giant Eagle, Target, whatever. They have money
Yeah.
appropriated for
Community.
public events. Because when I was a race director, that's what we always did, is go around and get money from them. So it's something that they want to do. They
Yeah.
want to get their name out there.
No, I am aware. I mean, I used to sell sponsorships for major outdoor events, so this is kind of it's just a matter of who, how much and where, and again, it's a lot of work to get it done, so. I have not, done as much as I wanted, because again, work's just been a killer.
So taking this thing in small bites then,
Yeah.
you have the July 21st meeting, so 22nd meeting.
Yeah.
You have the $5,800 from McCandless, you have the July 22nd meeting. After that, then you'll know, I guess then you'll just keep on working on your sponsorship.
Yes,
And this is all moving toward the October 18th. So that's what we're all moving toward.
yeah, well, that's one event, right? That's what I would call the things we're gonna do this year.
Yeah,
Is
right, but I really love to just focus on making that right, because anything else in that I don't have the bandwidth to think about,
yeah.
you
Well, so I will have ready to go, and now that I know there's the meeting on the 22nd, I'll have what I'll call the fact sheet, how we can promote, how we can position, who's sponsoring up to that moment. But I'm really targeting August 1st to be the rollout date to go public with the tree tender and the tree adoption. But the tree adoption, by the way,
Okay.
Tree Pittsburgh will handle, getting people to sign up. And then they will check whether people are in McCandless or not. So they'll do it based on, so we don't really have to do anything other than, they'll show up and we
Well,
can
this is
hand out
what
the
I'm,
free.
what I'm going for.
Yeah.
August 1st is your goal to start, because we have to get this thing starting to go like like you said, social media, Abby, how are we doing it? Are we doing it in a way that people can actually sign up? Is it Civic Rec? Is it,
No, it's not. It's through Tree Pittsburgh.
okay,
Once
that's,
again, let's be clear, I said we are not gonna run programs. I am going to recruit organizations who do programs and they will run them so we don't have to.
so when we did the Tree Pittsburgh speaker here,
Yep.
it came through us. But,
The promotion.
Yes.
They promoted as well, but yeah, we're McCandless.
okay,
But I promoted that. I mean, I put that on Nextdoor. I think you did too.
Right.
Put it on Facebook. I mean, I
Right.
don't know if,
but it's gonna go, do you want it on
did they? Okay. Yeah.
do you want it on the web page and everything? I mean, is John gonna put it on a web page like they do, like pickleball and all that kind of stuff?
Why I wanted a meeting, right, was to find out what they could or couldn't do, but it sounds like this is a burden, right? Like the requests are burdensome.
I don't think so.
Just making sure that they're all dotted, especially when money's involved. I think it's really what it is.
I
Well,
think-
that's why I was trying to get a meeting.
I think what it is, I think what it is that it's not burdensome because we certainly get the support that we need on the roadside cleanup. I think it is focus. I think it is making sure, because it's a municipality. And so you just have to hit the right person and get the right focus. So I think if we focus them on the information that we want to get
If they
through.
won't meet with me, I can't focus them. And I'll just say it that way. I've been requesting for a while. I mean, I appreciate John running point now to make sure things are being
Yeah.
vetted, but if they won't communicate with me, I can't do that. So,
Okay,
I mean, but John now, as our staff member, he's now coordinating it and apparently scheduled this meeting at 8 AM. Yeah.
yeah. I'm just saying, okay, all right, maybe your experience is a little bit different. Okay, so focusing them,
I mean, I've run a municipality, like I understand the role of a municipality and what they do as staff
mhm,
and how
much
to.
better than I do, I'm sure.
And how to interact with volunteers, authorities, boards, commissions,
Mhm.
departments, like, I understand like what that relationship would look like. Which is why I wanted a meeting to describe and discuss what was the approval process,
And
B,
you directly asked for a meeting and didn't get it?
back in May.
Because I'm not sure that's the consensus.
So you emailed John S., right?
And
About-
Diane and you and, yeah, and it was following the volunteer event.
Mhm.
So I said, hey, it's great, we discussed all this stuff, and you said you were excited to have a meeting, let's do that. And then there was no meeting scheduled, so I pinged again. And asked once again, could we meet to discuss this, because I had things pending that needed to be decided on. And yeah, then, I mean, it was cricket, so that's whenever I reached out after our last meeting, that's what I said, is like, I'll just work for you at this point.
That's probably a safe bet, because some questions I can definitely answer, but certainly when it comes to funding, I want to defer higher up.
No, I know, but I think even like me wanting to have this conversation with you about, well, what is the process if nobody's talking to me about what I'm doing, then, because I do know that there's an authority which I can and cannot do. As a volunteer, I recognize where that line begins and ends. And that's all I was trying to do was figure out with staff, here's how far I'd taken it. Could I now get your authorization or approval to proceed or not? That's all I was looking for.
Hmm.
Because absent that, I just had to start making commitments on my own. And then not necessarily even in the name of the municipality anymore, just, Bernie Lynch will do this, right? So.
Well, that's why I pinged back there to say, hey, what are we doing?
In the future, if you want to CC a member of council, i.e. me, that sometimes helps
Okay,
prod things along with people.
all right.
So
Well, then I will do that from now on.
do that.
And yeah, because even on, doing the grants, I've discussed this before, there's a couple of grants at DCNR specifically for tree canopy replacement. So yeah, I mean, I just think as these things are arising, I can fill out the application, but it's got to go in
Right.
the municipality. And my question is, what is the process of the municipality to do these things? So I still haven't had that meeting with anyone on staff to understand what it is that somebody may or may not want me to do in that regard.
Sure.
But-
Okay, good, that'll be on the agenda then. Okay, so on the 22nd, then after that, then we need to start focusing, social media, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff, and then getting people interested in this and educated on what we're trying to do. Okay,
But again, on signups, like my hope is we can get that information more directly than, the app that you were using last time. Can we, just more like what we did for the talk?
Yeah, we can probably do that, I think, to
Okay,
make it easy.
good, yeah.
Or just even say, sign up, if you really feel like showing up, just, that's what that's.
okay,
Good, yeah, that's it. So, yeah, I mean,
so it's a lot. So, as long as we're putting one foot in front of the other and we're talking to the right people and getting the right results. I think, and being focused, I think that is, we're gonna get there together.
Well, that's why I'm only doing one day. It's the 18th, it's a Saturday.
Mhm.
All three activities for the balance of the year are gonna head to that day.
I think that's the right approach.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions for Bernie?
I have this on every meeting, by the way, which is, so next Thursday, I hope to have a tree meeting, and with a smaller planning group. I don't know who, is it the same folks who've been involved in the past? Jeff, you, Ken, and Joanna? Are you guys?
I can't attend next Thursday. They know that already.
I might be able to. I'll have to check.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I plan on
Include me, give it a
inviting a
try.
wider group as well, and, even.
The best way to do a lot of that stuff is, because I don't have my calendar here and stuff, is to email us and an agenda and
And again,
place and time and.
I'm with you. I did have a medical event, which I finally used our ambulance service, so yeah, I've had a couple of weeks of, it hasn't been the best, so.
Sorry.
It's all right, I'm better after a lot of drugs and ER stuff.
Oh, jeez.
It was a kidney stone, just.
Oh.
Painful.
Really bad, took 2 weeks and then all the after effects. So anyway, so that derailed me, just for the record of why I didn't get as much done this month.
Okay,
Good enough excuse,
yeah,
so.
next is community outreach. So John, you had mentioned, National Night Out.
Yes, National Night Out.
What night is that?
That is Tuesday, August 5th from 5 to 8. EACs usually have a small table there, typically.
Yeah.
Nothing extravagant, but it's
Yeah,
just another way to get, out in the community.
so let me, we're gonna talk about community day, garden park, all that kind of stuff. I mean, these are opportunities, I think, to advertise ourselves. And so, should we, I'll put it to the crowd, should we have a table at National Night Out?
People are available to help.
Yeah, yeah. And
There
I,
was one last summer, I think, right?
yeah, and I'll be there for sure.
That's mostly kids, is it?
I have-
That's all it is.
Yeah.
There's
August
one.
5th,
What is it?
August 5th,
Fifth.
like 5 o'clock, forget.
Yeah, 5 to 8.
Yeah,
It's a bunch of kids running around and
It's fun.
it's.
so it's, it's just a way to just sort of say.
Is it like a touch truck?
So
Like the
I do
people in the.
plan on
ambulance.
being there.
They have all the.
I'll be there. So the answer is
Fire
yes,
shit.
John.
Yeah.
I'll be there. I'll have my gum tree that says everything we do, and then I'm gonna have the litter thing that says next litter pickup, April 2026, just so people start thinking about it. And if anybody wants to also have some type of promotion that says, this is what a rain garden is, this is what a
Okay,
tree
bring the board.
program is, all we're gonna do is put on a table is that stuff.
That works.
Okay,
But
so I'll be there.
remember Matt did some type of game with the kids last year?
Community Day.
They didn't do that?
No, not a National Night Out. I don't believe so.
When is?
National Night Out was rained out.
I was gonna say, it was raining last year.
That's right,
Yeah,
it was.
Yeah, it was horribly rained out. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
That was a bummer.
Okay, so I think it's a good way just to say, this is who we are. So we'll be there.
Community 13.
Next thing is Community Day, which is September, well, let's skip down. Garden and Park, 9 AM to 1 PM. same thing. Table set up.
That one's
Ken-
not as kid.
No, adults, some kids because they like to get the ice cream and everything, but it's adults. And Ken and I were there last year
Mhm.
and we had,
I think I spoke to Ken last year. I have
yeah,
one for
and
the
I think
rest of
Melissa stopped by and I think Mark did and Bernie was there
Yes.
with her family. And we probably had 10, I know you had more significant conversations because you know a lot more people, but I mean, I had people come up and say, oh, who are you? So it is a good opportunity to, to sort of say who we are. And so again, I'll be there.
It's particularly useful for the tree and rain garden advertising.
Yes, it certainly is. So thank you, Melissa. So, if you guys can prepare something that looks a little bit more, formal in a way of, these are things that we're promoting, that's a great day to do that. If you could commit to being there for an hour or something like that,
But even if they can't be there,
I
whoever
can
is
be there.
there should definitely be
Yeah.
talking about this topic.
but I'd like to see other people be there. So Ken and I, or, I'm not even sure if Ken can be there.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the only guy from 9 to 1.
I have it on my calendar. I thought it was 9 to 12, but I'll do. 9 to 12.
It usually.
And there's Penn State ice cream to keep you happy.
So I know Ken will be there because of that ice cream. So,
I unfortunately have a different commitment that day, so I will not be.
okay.
The one that's on August 5th, don't we need to do a look? We're not gonna have another meeting before that, so you need to,
Yes.
I can help you on that.
Good point. Okay, good. So if anybody, well, let's put it this way. Good point, Ken. So I will have, whatever I have to bring down. You guys will set up the table and everything like that, so we don't need to do anything. I bring down the sign, it says EAC. And then if anybody wants to bring anything down that's, that's material for their projects, please bring it down.
Okay.
If nothing else, we'll just use our sunny dispositions.
I'd probably be done with that.
Okay, got it. Okay, so then, let me just, here, so Melissa and Jeff, National Night Out.
You said 5 to 8 for that night.
Yeah.
Okay,
Get there a little bit early to set up.
great.
What time do you think?
I'll be there at 4:30, I guess. Okay, good. All right, so then next is, again, Garden to Park. I will be there. Ken, will you be there for that one?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So Jeff and Ken, let's do. And,
We need a pretty face there too.
okay, Nick. Everybody else, we will have another, we will not have another meeting. So, if anybody wants to sort of,
How badly do you guys want to meet my childhood best friend? 'Cause she's in town.
Well,
oh, no, you don't, just
Okay.
bring me down something to just post.
I can bring you down. and
That's all.
I'm gonna stop by. I was gonna bring them over anyways, but I wasn't gonna,
Just bring it down to the
Okay.
table. You don't have to be, Ken and I will be there and we'll
Okay.
just, it's fun.
I was gonna feed my nephew ice cream.
Okay.
I'm gonna try to stop
Okay,
by.
and trust me, there's not a lot that goes on there for us. So if we just, if more or less, couple people standing there, material that people can ask about, that's all we need. That's all we need. It's not a big deal. Okay, so Garden Park will be able to fill that commitment to,
You'll definitely have a sign up sheet for people as well for both events. We need that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a must.
Yeah. For volunteers.
yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna have a
Cool.
sign up sheet for Rain Garden volunteers.
okay.
We could just do generic and then send out the communication
That's a
for
good.
every
place for
event.
you to
rather than-
advertise your.
Yeah, okay, so,
Get started with that.
so get me straight on that. So now I'm gonna be down there and I'm gonna say, sign up for what?
So maybe I can build out a new sign up sheet and
Yeah.
we can have the columns, they can mark it if they're interested in rain
Yep.
garden, tree,
Mhm.
waste pickup or anything.
Okay.
So that way they can pick and choose what they'll
If
get.
you could do
Yeah,
that,
set that up.
okay, if you can set that up
We.
and email that to me and copy John.
Yeah.
And then John can print out a couple copies, 4 copies or something
Yeah.
like that, and then I can take them down with me.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, and that will feed right into our volunteer database because you
Yeah.
have those drop downs right in there. So
Oh, that's a
perfect.
good idea. Okay, now we're getting somewhere.
Yeah, that's, I will take care of that.
Good. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so National Night Out, so why don't we do it, okay, it's by July 26th, so then I'll have it for
We'll have it
for
both
Garden Park
events.
and
Yeah.
National Night Out.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, Community Day is September 13th, so what we'll do is we'll just throw, we're gonna have a table, but I don't know what we want to do. September 13th, but we don't know what we're gonna do, so why don't we put that on next month's agenda? This is
Okay.
enough.
If I start doing some like research on like maybe snack activities, if we want to do that kind of thing, and if I want to have like maybe, I don't know, somebody with children, so I was thinking like Matt or Mark or one of them,
Yeah.
like
Mark usually has a couple.
post to them to see like, is it fun? Is it tasty? Is it,
Wasn't there like a candy worm game they did last year?
there was
Or talked about, right? Wasn't there something like that? Yeah.
Something that's brown, but what was that game of, so they had something that, but Dawn.
Yeah, there was something that they were doing. It was fun.
I can't
Was it
remember.
was it like,
It was at the table.
does this go in the trash? Does this go in the recycling? Didn't
Well,
they do
that was the
something like that?
recycle.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was the-
Right.
that
Yeah, yeah.
had helped
Matt had a,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like a Jeopardy
Yeah.
type thing.
Yeah,
But your idea of researching
no.
because
fine.
because were you doing the,
I was at the
Okay.
table.
you're at the table,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, because I'm Dawn was doing it or something.
Dawn had some student volunteers assisting with, and it was really popular, but it was back behind closer to the restrooms under the tree.
And I just feel like you're using a lot of single-use plastics with that, and also pudding is sticky. Like, that's just, as soon as I hear of like giving kids a cup of pudding and then walking around a hot parking lot for a while, that's so sticky.
They're not yours.
They're not mine, I don't know.
Yeah, you can brainstorm, we'll talk about it next month.
Yes, we'll talk about it next month and see what I can come up with.
Okay, so we are good then on National Night Out, we're good then on Garden in the Park, we have a plan. And then moving on to the Deer Call presentation, Ken, which is September 30th.
September 30th, the Janine Flagel, she's the whitetail biologist for the Game Commission, is going to come down and do a presentation. I'll introduce her. We'll be able to have questions and such. I think we can fit 118 here, and I'm going to get Janine and John together so she knows what AV equipment she has available to use and stuff like that. Because I'm sure she'll have some kind of PowerPoint thing to do.
Are you putting it that you can put that many people?
They said 118 in there?
Yeah,
Really?
yes,
How
there
many-
can be standing room in there if it gets crowded, but yeah.
How many seats are in there today?
So we have a lot more seats actually available behind that wooden thing. Sometimes they do have to set up a lot extra if they think there's something controversial happening.
We can pack them in.
Yeah.
The one meeting last time, you report had about that many people show up.
But my big thing is, getting the publicity out about this so that people will sign up, through Northland Library and all of that. That's not my bailiwick. I don't know what I'm doing in that area. So
Do we need them to sign up?
sign up would be best, because then
Okay.
you know how many people are gonna be there. And that also gives you a chance to hook them into the volunteer thing.
Okay. Okay, so we need to start the thing, so September 30th. Obviously, we have 2 more meetings before then, but we need to start advertising this thing in August.
You can even be advertising at these 2 events. That could be something that you have a flyer for, just to show
Mhm.
it's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And again, publicity for that is like, clueless.
It's okay.
I do think like our social media, I mean, again, the relationship between staff versus volunteer. Social media, like what should that look like?
I mean, everyone who has access to the town's social media is a staff member. If volunteers want to help out and publicize in their own personal social media, that's always good too.
Go,
Because we typically, like, the town's page is a member of, like, say, McCandless Community Forum. We pretty rarely post on there just because we don't want to wade into potential arguments with people. But we have had success because Matt has posted in there, you've
Right.
posted in there,
Yeah.
So I mean, like, any additional publicity is fine,
Okay.
but the town does do its own as well.
does it pretty much go, we can give it to Abby and then she takes it and puts it out wherever?
Yeah, I put it out, Abby puts it
Yeah.
out, sometimes Diane puts it
Either
out.
or.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, but his point is, but there's certain things they don't do. Yet, maybe a member here,
Can assist with.
yeah,
The forums,
yeah, the McCandless, what is there, 2 or 3 of them?
there's like two.
So community forum and open discussion. Community forum is the bigger one right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Those websites.
There are Facebook
Facebook
groups.
pages.
And with our speaker series, we've always done that in conjunction with Northland Public Library and stuff too.
That's great.
They also do a good job of getting
But
it done.
again, I'm
Pushed out.
clueless on that.
Well, okay, so John, do we have any type of graphics that we can, do we have any historical graphics that we used in the past for a deer presentation that we can,
I'm gonna go back and take a look and see what we did when we did the one thing in 2021.
yeah,
Because I can't remember if I did something then or if we used what they put together, because one of the things we did with the library, they have their graphic design too, but
yeah.
now we have a couple other people do graphic design and stuff in-house too.
Abby's pretty good at it, I
Yeah.
will say. I've seen Abby do some very.
Yeah, so
Canva work.
so I'll send an email tomorrow, reminding you that, maybe we could put together something that looks like something I can post at our tables for these next two
Yeah.
events that says, upcoming event, deer management presentation, September 30th. Be there, watch for sign up on, on the McCandless website.
Yeah.
That type of thing. So,
Are we giving it a cute name? Like Oh Dear or
uh,
any of my
you can-
stupid ones? I had a list of call.
Whatever you choose.
Oh.
Don't let
Colin.
me name anything that way.
Calling out a good one, yeah.
When we did the presentation back in 21 on whatever, the computer thing, we had 250 spaces, all 250 taken, and there was a backlog of people that wanted to get on.
So should this be not just in person, but on?
Zoom opportunity.
I don't, like wait and see what the sign up looks like and then.
That's a good idea. We didn't see.
No, well, not if he got 250 plus on the last.
Well, that was in the middle of COVID, so people didn't have anything else to do too.
Okay. I mean, it's easy to do, to make something that was gonna be an in-person, especially if you're in.
We've done hybrid in there before.
Happy,
Yeah.
yeah, so that could be an easy thing to set up if you feel the run.
You might not get as many people in person if you give that option as well, though. So that's one potential negative too.
Yeah, I mean, I know that date has never been from, I didn't want to say that, but, it sounds like it also could be, super spreader, we're back doing COVID. I don't know when we started in, but,
We could, like we do here, we do use Zoom as a recording format. So it could be recorded and put onto our YouTube channel, like we did last time as well, because the video that still exists
yeah, that works.
on YouTube.
So if
That's
you're
pretty
not
good.
there
As long
live,
as, Janine,
Janine,
as long as Janine is fine with that, you'd need to get her okay.
we can discuss that. I don't think she'll have any problem with that.
yeah.
That's a great
I
option.
watched the
Yeah.
one that you guys had, so I saw her present last time, the one you sent us, right?
Yeah.
You sent us a link,
Well, somebody did, but
yeah. I thought it was informative, the one
Okay.
that's on YouTube, I was able to.
that's a great idea. It's a great idea. Okay.
Other terrible possible names, just throw out there, stuck in a rut, fawning over wildlife, browsing for answers. These are not good. I love a good pun.
John, do you mind if I put you in charge of, if anybody that has ideas on all that stuff?
Yeah.
I mean,
To run it.
That's a terrible
We
pun.
can figure it out.
Yes. Don't put me in charge.
John's in charge, you run it.
I need a cute.
Because John's good. He's, that's good.
Okay, moving on then. Again, Bird Town PA membership, I'm, that's a bigger discussion. We're addressing bird migration right now. I'm just gonna table that again, because I've got slides and presentations on that kind of stuff. I don't want to be an inch deep and a mile wide. We've got bigger things that we're working on, and I don't think that's one of them right now. So, Let's move on. Anything on invasive species education expansion, Joanna?
Don't have anything really new. I want to go through the parks before I have a good idea of what's going on within the town. And then I've spoken to Abby about kind of some of my ideas, but I haven't had time to make anything concrete this month.
Historically, we've talked about and have never gotten off the ground, and this is pre-Abby and everything, of having a set of stewards for each park. There basically is for Vestal.
Mhm.
But doing the same thing with Wall and with Potter. And then with those stewards of doing it, like they do in North Park, having an education series for the stewards and them having responsibility for litter and invasives and things like that. And that's long-term, that's what we would like to get to, but we're not there yet. But now we have Abby, so we can get volunteers and so forth. So this is a time to start trying to recruit that for this time next year.
And even more than having Abby, we have a volunteer hub. So, we might be able to find that person. That's a good point.
But that's ideally what we would like is a handful of people that take ownership in the park and the trails and stuff and maintain them. So that's not falling back to Jack and I going out with a chainsaw and cutting trees down and stuff. Which we did last week, but that's neither here nor there.
Okay, the walk in the park is still scheduled for this Saturday,
What time and where again?
9 AM at Potter.
We can all be able to park down there?
Are we starting at the Potter Park, like the parking lot, or are we gonna go up to the, I guess, is it Van Drive or?
We're gonna have to,
We're meeting at the new part.
Okay.
at the new park.
Oh, no, sorry, old.
The old
Yeah,
park,
'cause
then we
then-
walk down to the pond.
Yeah, we're
and
gonna walk to
then
the pond and then we're gonna go up to the old.
And I would encourage you all to wear long pants because once we get past the lake, there is no more trail.
Okay, good. So,
There's kind of like a deer trail that they carved out there, but it's rough still.
When Jack and I walked out, that's fairly rough.
Yeah, it is.
okay, I think that, so I'll email, now that we're definitely gonna do this, I'll email and remind Abby tomorrow. I'll copy Jack, and I'll copy Diane too, because I think Diane's gonna join us.
And if there's not enough place to park down, like near where the gate is, and we can park up at the top of the hill, then I can text the guy who owns the home there and be like, hey, there's gonna be like a bunch of cars parked by your.
Okay,
House.
but when the Boy Scout, or the Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, I guess, or Boy Scouts came down, I mean, they found room for all their cars. And
Yeah.
I was down there, and
Yeah,
Joe Wall was
there's-
down there, and Jack, yeah, you.
There's room to make.
You can probably get 7, 8 cars down there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we'll be okay. And then after that walk, Nick, you would be available to, if you come right back out the same driveway and you go a half a mile down a
We'll
road,
go to the Phil site.
that's,
Park.
you go to Phil site, that's
Yeah.
Wall Park and Brant Trail. Whoever wants to stick around for a walk on 0.93 mile,
It's a really nice trail.
yeah, and walk that trail,
It's nice.
they are, you're more than welcome to do that. So,
Happy to.
and I would
take a
encourage
group.
it.
Yeah.
I would encourage it. So Nick has, graciously offered to stick around and do both of those, and that'll be great.
So the second one would be about what time?
Depends on how long,
Depends on how long we end up at Potter's.
that can be,
Probably like
that can be a fairly long walk, actually.
Hour and a half.
So from 9 to say 10:30?
Ballpark, yeah.
We can text you as we're heading back to.
Mhm.
I was gonna go. I was
Oh,
trying to
okay.
get my daughter and son-in-law and the baby to join us on
Thanks.
the second one.
Yeah,
Um,
probably just give them a heads up as we're heading back then.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Second one is-
you could probably text them when we're back to the car and then they can get to Wall Park by the time we get
so
there.
it'd be Wal-
We're gonna do Wall Park from the top or from the bottom. It's
From the Phil site.
from the Phil site. Okay,
Does that make sense?
I always do it the other way around.
Okay.
Because it's uphill on the way out and downhill on the way back.
I've done both. I've parked at Wall, I've parked at the Mill site.
Just when people get
I don't
tired,
mind
they much rather go downhill
either.
than up.
Yeah, true.
Good logic.
It's going to be,
Much on either.
There'll actually be more parking at Wall Park too. Probably there's not a ton of space to park at
If,
Phil site.
at the Phil site, there's very limited.
There's limited, so yeah, let's meet at the wall park or park there, but we
Where the
can,
ball fields are.
Yeah,
Hash it
we
out,
can work
but-
that out.
but yeah,
They can-
that-
they can
that-
follow you.
that makes more sense, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. All right, so we're doing that, and I will email tomorrow to Jack, Abby, and Diane and remind them. And then the junior EAC member discussion,
Yeah.
Melissa.
So Matt and I met up to talk about this last time. We had, as a group, decided it is worth pursuing, see if we get people who apply. So we were sort of brainstorming just to make it a little bit more efficient this year. I've offered to help him be a mentor to this individual, so he's not taking it all on by himself, because it can be a lot, so
Mhm.
we'll take it together. We were thinking of, we need to, right now, the application is open and it is online, but there's no close date listed on that application on the McCandless website. So we will have to get that edited to say a deadline.
Mhm.
Speaking of the deadline, he and I were thinking if we close it out on August 22nd, that would work well. School resumes on the 21st this year. So we'll be advertising for the next couple months. And then we would be able to do interviews the week of the 25th or 29th.
Mhm.
I have a vacation the week of Labor Day, which is what was throwing a little wrench in there for
Yeah,
us to be able to approve of this member as a group at the
Mhm.
September meeting and then take it to town hall so that they would be an official member after.
okay, so then the September meeting will be whatever that it is, September.
September 10th.
Okay, so
Yeah.
thank you. So
That would be
September
for the
10th.
EAC approval.
And then the council meeting is probably the next Monday, I'm thinking. No, probably the Monday after that.
Technically September 8th,
8th, so it's before.
yeah,
Yeah, the 8th.
Okay, so,
and then the 22nd.
okay, so we would catch it on the 22nd then,
Okay, catch them on the
I
22nd.
guess.
Okay, okay.
Unless the EAC can agree outside of our meeting environment, which I don't know if we're allowed to do, so that's.
They need, that has good, that's.
Has to come from here.
Yeah. Okay, and then we can then have them attend the October meeting.
Yeah.
Okay,
Um,
okay. You go with all that, John?
Yeah, I was just gonna make sure, since I mentioned this before,
Mhm.
there was one applicant for junior council who was very environmentally oriented.
Okay.
So I don't know if they would need to go through the whole process or not again. I wasn't sure if we did want to do a full application process for this particular position.
We were talking about still sending it out because I know we had
Mhm.
people who might be interested from the roadside cleanup that we did. There were a
Okay.
bunch of students there who seemed like it might be something that they would do if they knew about it.
Mhm.
That being said, we have no idea who would actually apply.
Okay,
So
yeah,
it wouldn't hurt to share the information with that individual too. I don't know if we could use their application from before or if it would have to be separate.
well, we can figure that out because we did an interview with them since they did it for junior council.
Yeah.
It's slightly different,
Yep.
but if you want to do an August 22nd deadline, we could start advertising probably this week or next week. I
Yeah.
guess. Okay.
And so with that, I did want to ask, what is the process for getting our information out? I guess going through you with,
Well, I mean, is there anything extra you want to do with
so
next?
we need to add a date to the website.
Yeah, that's easy.
Easy enough. And then we were talking about, depending what outlets you wanted to use.
Yeah.
Social media posting,
Mhm.
then for us, sending it out to the email list that we have.
Yeah.
But to make it more formal, I do know we have that EAC email address now, right? Are we able to?
We can use that or, yeah,
That
either
way-
way, I can use my address.
Because then it makes, or coming from you rather than coming from like one of our personal ones, it seems a little bit more official for
Yeah.
something like this, since we're going to be reaching out to some students as well.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so then I figured we would just pull the names from everybody who was at the roadside cleanup event. If you're okay, if we send it to the rain garden individuals as well, unless you had any objections, and same with the people with the tree. On your tree list, Bernie, any objections to sharing to them as well?
No,
Okay, yes.
no, I mean, that's, on that
That's what it's
shared
for.
site.
Yeah.
I might have some recommendations of the people
Yeah.
on the rain garden list that might be better than others.
Okay.
But we can definitely send it out to my contact who can reach all the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts.
Yeah, that would be amazing, because we can share with them that this application is open through the 22nd, and then we'll go from there.
So who does
When
that?
the-
That's,
Yeah.
I
John,
have
you
to partner
do
with
that?
John for that then.
I would
We
probably
will.
send the email out.
Yep. And
Okay,
so
With bulk and do the
I
advertising.
can give you that massive list then,
Yeah.
and I'll clean it up and send it your way.
Yeah.
And if this week, maybe.
Okay, yeah.
End of the weekend, yeah, so
We
we go
have-
out early next week. And then we can do. Obviously through the events, we'll be getting more names,
Yeah,
opportunity to meet people, especially at Community Day. Hopefully there will be some high school
Mhm.
students there who might be intrigued.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the thought process there. Any other input or ideas with the recruiting?
I mean, you want to be as wide as possible. It's kind of what it sounds like.
They have to be a town resident and they have to be an incoming junior or senior according to the restrictions. So the best way to capture those types of people or people who know those types of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think wide is good because last year we had very limited applicants.
Yes.
So that was part of the concern.
yes. Okay,
Okay, that's all I have.
very good.
So I'll get that information to you this weekend, John.
Okay, sounds good.
Great, thank you. Next up is the Bernie brought this discussion to the group last week or last month for the purple air sensor. And, John, you have a,
Actually, yes, John S. is also very enthusiastic about this, and we just may end up buying it ourselves as a town and installing it. You see, he had one at Edgeworth, and it was popular. So,
It would, with the air quality, the county used to have like 20 different stations. And then for whatever reason, they cut it down to 3. You know, one in basically New Kensington where that power plant was, it's no longer there. One at the Coke Top plant and one at the, where the buses idle downtown. And the American Lung Association thought it was great because it made our air bad so they could get more grant money. I didn't think it was very representative of Allegheny County air when you measured air at those 3 spots and said that's what Allegheny County air was. But anyway, I was a minority on that.
Yeah, but like, this is what the world's looking like at the moment, with, you know, everybody's individual, you know, monitors, so.
We're much technology's come a long way that we can do this now.
Yeah, and like today was actually a really bad day. And it kind of frustrates me that the weather forecasters don't really tell you that. So I would love to, you know, when doing that, you know, maybe, you know, part of what we could promote is, you know, check on purple air or canvas, you know, monitor before you know, kind of do the open windows each day. And, you know, because, and if you want, I mean, I could get a write-up about, you know, good indoor air quality and what that means. But if you look, I mean, it's not bad right now. When I got in my convertible and put the top down, it was a 98, which is really high. It's, you know, high but right now we're down to yellow. And, you know, sometimes the heat of the day will do it, but like there is Canadian air. And I do think, you know, again, as a EAC, the idea of like telling people, you know, when to be aware. I don't know why the weather people, they're like, oh, tomorrow's gonna be an orange day. And it's like, no, it's actually gonna be red and purple. You know, I don't know what standard they're using, but you know, they're not consistent and they don't tell people often. And they'll say people who have issues, you know, should look out. But anyway, I think it's just an important thing to get on people's radar because most people aren't aware.
that could be a fun environmental tip, I think, whenever that's set up.
Yeah, yeah. And then
yes,
That would be cool.
guiding people to it. And I mean, I look at McKinless and, you know, I think I showed you all last time, there's only one monitor. And, you know, so now you'll be up top, right, in the north or central. And, but right now I'm the only one in McKinless. That's my house. That's both my outdoor and indoor. So I don't know if you guys are gonna get outdoor and indoor. But
I'll talk to him about it, I think. We were thinking outdoor, but
I know, but getting an indoor gets interesting for like, you know. It's informative is the best way to say.
I'll also say from the sustainability side, depending if
Yes.
we ever wanted to talk about LEED certification of the facility,
Yeah.
or does make a difference. But
Yeah,
for
I mean-
the overall community engagement, it might not matter as much.
no,
If
but I
I'm
think,
doing indoor air quality research, back in the 1980s, biggest thing is the turnover of the air in the building.
Yeah, it's
Like the
danger.
old buildings that turned over really quick. You didn't have a problem with air pollution. Then they made things too tight, so you had a lot of
Yep.
problems. And so it's like if it turns over once an hour, that seems to be the optimum.
Yeah,
But that's 1980 when I did that stuff. So
no, but I mean, I think those are important issues, even for, you know, the employees who are in here to just become aware of what you guys do about their air. I do it all the time, like, you know, when I cook, my numbers go up. So there's just certain behaviors that you'll learn not to do, like when you vacuum, your numbers go up, you know, so. Yeah, I think it's consciousness about stuff like that. Anyway, but thanks for being willing to do that. That's excellent. And, yeah,
Apparently all we need is like an outlet source and a power source and like Wi-Fi connection, so.
connect
We
with
have
your
that.
Wi-Fi, you plug it in and, yeah, and it comes with a bracket to hang.
Mhm.
So, but he had one in his municipality before.
That's what he said, yeah.
Really?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's great. Good.
Yeah.
is John gonna walk with us on Saturday?
He's aware of the date. I don't know if he's,
I'll copy
we'll
him.
probably we'll just remind him, hey, we're doing this on
I'll
Saturday.
copy him too.
Oh,
It'd
beat him
be
up.
great to have him along.
Okay. Okay, next up is, we'll need an August McMail tip.
The historic August topics were e-waste and tree planting, don't feed wildlife, garden tips, invasive plants, and stormwater.
Okay, well, storm clutter is a good one. Drain, sewers and everything like that, keeping them clean. With all this rain,
There's a couple I've seen that are really clogged up.
yeah, so have I. That's an interesting one. Okay, so we did the, last week, we piggybacked off the Franklin Park one.
Yeah,
That worked out well. Okay, that was an easy one. That was a quick one. Why don't I pull some stuff on, you guys think the sewer drain, because it's too, we'll need to continue to, promote the tree and the deer call and all that kind of stuff, but maybe we take this opportunity to do this lighter one.
It's a nice pause, yeah.
If you wanna do the, you know, like the deer in September and maybe the tree in October,
There you go.
you know, but yeah, I think stormwater management and what people could do.
Got some
Okay.
storms,
Having
small times.
hunted out west and everything like that, and like Redoso, I'm familiar with. When you get thunderstorms out there, like you'll have a dry gully that's like 20 feet on the sides. And there's no water in it, and you have a thunderstorm. And you're camping up here, you can hear that water coming down, and it's a 20-foot wall. I mean, it goes from dry to 20 feet. It's incredible. It's just incredible.
Okay, so I'll put out something on that. We'll move on that. Okay, report from town council, Nick.
Nothing really big at the moment. There were two meetings we held last month, which some of you were at. One was for the neighbors who live next to Potter's Park. We wanted to gather their thoughts and hear their thoughts on, what the park should be and what the new space should be. Then we had another public input meeting for the master parks plan, just to hear
That went very
more
well.
thoughts. We had a nice amount of people came out for it, so
Mhm.
that's about it.
And the church on Peebles.
Yes,
That
so
was asking for an exemption.
that is resolved, yes.
50% more or whatever. that
Yes, so
was.
they're going to abide by the current code now. So-
Just for clarification, when they're saying 65%, that means when you have an acre of timber, you have so many basal area of square feet of timber. And when you're saying 60, a shelter would be cutting 65% of that. So having a 200 basal area, that means you measure the diameter of the trees and so forth. That's a pretty normal forest practice, what they were doing. It's the issue with this one here is because of the deer intensity and not ending up like North Park with all barberry and stilt grass and all the invasives. And so what Jack was telling me, they're going to, when they, all the tops, they're going to basically concentrate them towards the middle, which impedes the deer being able to get in there and get at stuff. And so trying to do the regeneration.
So they're gonna top and leave other ones, but make a bit of a bramble in there that they can't, it's not gonna clear it.
No, they're cutting about 65%. That's a normal practice that opens it up.
Okay.
And so then you have the seeds from the trees that are left behind to fill in, since there's no understory around here. Normally you wouldn't do that without there already being an existing understory. That's just normal forestry practice.
Okay, and so they pulled that and, okay, all right, okay.
That's it.
Okay, topics for next month's meeting. I have, we'll talk about Community Day, September 13th. We'll have reviews from the Garden Park and National Night Out. We'll begin to discuss deer presentation advertising. Get a junior EAC update. I'm gonna throw Birdtown USA on there again, that poor thing. But again, I just want to say for the record that, we are not, John, can you bring up those links real quick? We're not going to discuss them, but let's just bring it up real quick so we can put it in people's minds. Okay, yeah, that was good. And then just go down, scroll down. That's a bird. So with municipal leaders, we engage and work together, restore habitat. So, these are some of the things that they do. It is a small fee. I think it's $100 to join or something like that. But I need to really find out what we're, why we're doing this and how we can be active in it as opposed to just saying we did it. And I didn't want to commit to being active in something when we're being really active in tree management and deer management and all that type of stuff.
If you look at the things that they do, I mean, they're all relevant to everything we're doing.
Absolutely,
But yeah,
absolutely.
The
well, not the
ones
cat thing,
Yeah.
but we could get more into that.
This is
Yeah.
This is
It
one
is.
of my things with the deer overpopulation is it reduces all the native flowering wild plants and stuff. So you have fewer songbirds, fewer mice.
Chain effect.
Right, you're exactly right, Bernie. So it's almost like it's almost like it's all encompassing. So this is Pine, who just joined. The 74th bird community in January. They just joined. So take a look at this because this is their website and they talk about this. And that's great. And then it says upcoming environmental bird time programs. They have things that they're doing, their goals. Okay, go down a little bit further, John, because now they're talking about not just, I don't think it says Birdtown. Maybe is that still just Birdtown stuff?
Well, they're doing the lights out stuff and, I mean, there's a whole list
All
of.
connected.
Yeah, I mean, so it's very robust.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that we were ready for that level of that one until we get this other stuff going. It's just, we're biting off more than we
I
can
was
chew.
gonna say, who could champion this? We have a couple of folks on the crew here that are looking for things
Who's the ornithologist?
On where?
on the committee or one of.
In the
our
future, this is
volunteers.
something I might be interested in taking on, but not right
Yeah,
now.
I don't want to lose focus on what's really important for us. Okay, go down a little bit further, John, because I think what's now,
I have to tell you, this would be cool for our junior
it
person
would,
to take on.
that's my first thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. We have to find the right person. Now, it says accomplish goals. So what this is telling me though, and it's not necessarily the content. This is on the Pines website, the municipal website. They have an EAC. Look at the amount of information. I mean, should we be doing more, as the EAC and I know that we're probably already the most vocal committee out there. I would say so, Nick.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean.
In McCandless or?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we demand the most, we probably demand the most attention. We're the squeakiest wheel. There's no doubt.
Committee,
Hmm?
for the party. committee.
Yeah, But I mean, we could even be more. I mean, look at what they're doing in Pine. I mean, this really is very all-inclusive on EAC information. So this is something to think about for 2026.
And Liz
Mission
will be able to
statement.
comment on what-
Right there, include native and invasive plant regulation.
Yeah.
Lack of shit.
Can I ask a
Exactly.
question? Is it
Exactly.
outside?
I saw this and I'm like, whoa,
Us ever
okay.
Having a staff person
Um,
who does things for the EAC in the same way you have a parks person, right? Working for parks. I mean, we've talked about, do we ever get an arborist or, you know, on a contract or a host of other things? Is there room for a staff person for these activities? You know,
yeah.
like, again, can we raise money for a staff person? Like, is
John
that,
is very sympathetic to, John Schwinn is very sympathetic to EAC's need. I would say that, and council as well.
Yeah.
I would say it
Absolutely.
wouldn't necessarily be an EAC, but more of a sustainability thing, which is, I don't know if we have a role like that, but that would be,
It's just-
because then it overlaps. But it would help with.
we still don't
talked
have
about it
the
before.
umbrella of
but
sustainability
that's-
implemented
No,
in.
we
the
don't have it
book.
phrased that way, but
Yeah.
with the program that's starting this summer, they
Yeah.
might be able to start showcasing how it does Altai and then. these all
Right,
of
and
those
we get a
things,
local
and we've
action
talked about it
plan.
before, too.
So let's just, what I'm saying, I think, is, this is another big Bernie idea that, let's get to hub, let's get to data, let's do this. This is a big idea for 2026, I think. And so we can start to lean into this once we feel like we're on good footing with these things that we're working on right now. So maybe it's a next step, another maturation of this committee is doing something like that with overarching, maybe it's not sustainability, but maybe it's this type of bird tom thing.
But sustainability, I mean, this is where I think, Jeff, like, sustainability is all of it, right?
Yeah,
It's about human health,
yeah,
about.
no doubt about it. And
environmental
we can tie it all together. We can
Mhm.
call it whatever we want to call it, but we've got good blueprints out there. We've got good, I think we have good things that we can build on.
All of these programs earn points to that platinum level.
That's right.
Too. Like these are all,
Exactly.
doing these gets you there.
Yeah, they're
Exactly.
programs that-
Having a permanent employee gets points, things like
Right.
that, so.
Yeah.
Right, what it takes is it takes 7 active members. Because 5 or 6 or whatever, or, it takes everybody, it really, really does. So we just have to make sure that we're not burning out the people that we have. So, having said that, John, remind me again, so officer nominations are usually
Traditionally, those are in September.
they're in September, but you're going to look into, you're going to ask John if he wants to sync those up with other dates for officer nominations and other committees.
Correct, because he wants all the terms for all the committees are going to be calendar year going forward.
Okay,
So I want to see if they want to do that, at least for officer nominations early.
okay. So we do that annually. That will either be in September or that will be in January. But everybody needs to be thinking about eventually, is this the right, chair and vice chair, and do we, that type of thing. So we'll eventually have to, we'll speak to that and we'll move forward on that.
I'm missing that, so they're gonna switch, like, I think my term ends at the end of August, right?
Yeah, so because of when EAC was founded, all the terms end August 31st. But they're all actually going to end on December 31st,
Whatever year.
whatever year you're in, yeah.
You'll let us know that, won't you?
Yeah, so we can discuss that next, we could discuss, whatever we can throw that on there and discuss that if that's changed at all. Okay,
All right, so it's 4 more months.
I fully expect everybody to be fully engaged and return to this group after, even if they're expiring at the end of their term.
I don't think.
That is my core expectations.
Yeah, no one's expiring this year. I think next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
okay.
me,
even years.
August.
Okay, with that, any other thing, additions for next month? Anything that I'm missing? Okay, any other notes of this meeting? We've got 2 minutes or not. Okay,
Looking forward to the walk.
Yeah,
Yeah,
really
okay,
looking forward to
good.
this.
I still don't know what either of these places are, so I will be completely.
You're gonna see the hidden gem of this town.
Really?
The email,
Absolutely.
like a pin on the map, so.
Yeah.
Yep.
Everybody gets to the right spot.
No,
Don't
Okay,
take the,
don't take a sedan.
yeah, don't
take your-
don't take a sedan, don't take anything
not.
that's higher if you have it.
I got rid of my truck. No,
Uh-oh.
really?
If you need carpool.
If you wanna park at like Koala.
Yeah, or
There,
we're
just
gonna
be
park
there.
up the hill and then walk down, but you will bottom out.
I was gonna say they're four-wheel drive vehicles, but you're saying they're not high enough.
There's ruts and it's,
On the pothole.
it's in bad shape.
it's nasty.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so can I have a motion to adjourn?
To adjourn.
Have a second, please. All in favor? Very good. Have a good one.